This Shabbat, we lift up, we honor, we stand with, we celebrate members of our community, members of our own who bring their own reflections, their own work, their own love to our bima, their own gratitude. It's my honor to read a statement written by Susie and Wendy and Alexandra Posnock. Alexandra recently celebrated bat mitzvah here in our bima just a few months ago. They were unable to join us today, but they shared words for me to read. They write, "I have always admired the Jewish community's acceptance of the LGBTQ plus community. Overcoming my church's judgment and exclusion of my sexual preference was one of the most difficult struggles for me. Learning to love and accept how I was born and who I am. As a gay woman with a wife and teenage daughter, I have, and most importantly, my family has always felt loved and accepted from the moment we walked into the doors at North Shore Congregation Israel. We were also extremely proud of NSCI's statement, which was released in support of transgender youth. It is profoundly important for children to know, for all of us to know, see, and feel that God's love is non-judgmental and inclusive. Thank you for loving and accepting our family as we are, with open arms." Continue the warmth, the gratitude, the celebration. It's my honor to call forward Lev Grosshandler. Many of you know Lev. He's only been out of this area for a year. You can start coming this way, of course. Lev is a former leader of NSCI's Temple Youth Group and is currently studying at Miami University in Ohio. Finished your freshman year?
Yeah.
All right. Made it through. Yep. Lev is an ally to the LGBTQ plus community. He's here with us this evening to share his wisdom and his personal reflections.
Good evening, everyone, and Shabbat Shalom. As Rabbi Daniels mentioned, my name is Lev Grosshandler, and I'm very excited to talk to you all tonight. I've been a member of NSCI for virtually all my life, and it has affected me differently throughout the years. One constant that has been present for all this time is the support that's provided by NSCI, the clergy, and the members of the synagogue. I felt this support in various ways. In middle school, I would come here to the family center and work on my homework as I ate delicious pizza. In high school, I was on the board of our youth group and made meaningful connections and memories that will last a lifetime. Now being in college 6 hours away, I'm beginning to appreciate even more the far-reaching support of the synagogue. Whether it's receiving a friendly "how are you" message from the clergy or participating in my sister's bat mitzvah just a month ago, I know that NSCI will continue to support my family no matter where we are geographically. This support really came into play when my sister Chazzy, who was born Chaz, socially transitioned when she was 8 years old from a boy to a girl. I remember the moment vividly when Chazzy let us know who she truly was. The whole family was sitting around the kitchen table while Chazzy expressed to us, with tears in her eyes, who she truly was. We reassured her that our love for her won't go away and told her that we will try our best to support her as we start a new chapter in our family journey. While my family and I were ecstatic that Chazzy was now starting to live as her true authentic self, this transition presented new and challenging situations. Growing up for 8 years with 3 other brothers and now having a little sister took some getting used to. New pronouns, new ways with interacting with her, and telling my friends about the change were just some of the differences in our lives after the transition. One of the main things that helped me through this time was my relationship with my Jewish identity and NSCI. Ever since I could remember, NSCI has been a place of acceptance. During my time in TYG, I felt comfortable talking with my peers about Chazzy and educating them about the LGBTQ+ world. Everyone that I've spoken with about Chazzy at the synagogue has been nothing but open and accepting. This reassures me that my Jewish faith and the people I surround myself with at the temple are there for guidance and support. In the Torah, Jews are taught to accept others without bias or prejudice. I try to take this lesson and apply it to my everyday life. Having a personal connection to someone more vulnerable to preconceived notions held against her by people who may not know her has made me realize even more the importance of accepting everyone. My family and I felt so strongly about this that about a year and a half ago, we started a 501c3 nonprofit called the Gender Cool Project. The Gender Cool Project is an exclusively positive national storytelling campaign focused on telling the stories of transgender youth across America. Our main goal of the campaign is to focus on who these youth are and not what they are. We aim to replace opinions with real-life experiences. We do this by traveling the country, speaking to the media and large audiences about our message of acceptance. This June is our second Pride Month, and as an organization, we've had an incredibly busy and fun month spreading our mission to the masses. Our synagogue continues to support my family as we endeavor through the world of running a nonprofit, and my Jewish identity personally guides me as I encounter new experiences in my life. Thank you so much for listening to my family story, and Shabbat Shalom.
The Grosshandler family surely is an inspiration, walking the talk, teaching and educating, certainly our teachers here, and we thank you for sharing part of your story. We understand that your sister and mom are traveling the country, sharing and educating the world, so we appreciate you for that. Our next speaker is certainly no stranger to this bima, as Merens is a regular participant in our Friday worship. However, you may not know that Merens is pursuing a master's in education at Northwestern. You're sort of almost there. Halfway done. Merens is an avid basketball player and rollerblader, very important to who you are, and the fourth generation of your family here that is a part of our NSCI family. And so we thank you too for coming, sharing your story, and serving as our teacher and guide.
Lots of candy. Awesome. First, want to express to you, your family's so lucky to have you. I was so moved by your work as an ally. So that was really incredible. Another Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Hello. Yes. Move up. Cool. We can hear me? Good. Yes. Amazing. Alrighty. My name's Hannah Merens, but most of you know me as Merens, and some of you know me as Hannah. I have one friend here who knows me as Sparky. It's a special nickname he gave me. So I'm a non-binary person, which means that although I was born in a female-assigned body, I do not identify as a woman, nor do I identify as a man. I fall somewhere in between. I relate to aspects of both the male and the female experience. In the LGBTQ acronym, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer, I identify with the Q, queer, meaning not aligned with maleness, femaleness, or heterosexuality. I know that I'm not a woman and have known that I'm not a woman for as long as I can remember. With this, my identity and my name are deeply and beautifully entrenched. When I identify with my given name, Hannah, I enmesh myself in the legacy of my namesake. I was named after Hannah of the Torah, a tireless revolutionary. She was the first Jew to pray silently to God. She was the quintessential embodiment of feminine resilience and power. She was all of the things that make me proud and honored to be a part of the female experience. When I identify with the name Merens, it is not gendered, it is of me. It was my title as captain of the hockey team and prayer leader at camp. It is a mode through which I can engage with my masculinity and my non-binary status, while at the same time honoring the family name that has been unfaltering in their love for me. Much of the discourse that surrounded me growing up relentlessly insisted that because I do not identify as a man or a woman, I am a mistake, a perversion, inhuman. And yet, according to Rabbi Elliot Rose Kukla, our tradition has always been antithetical to that notion. Quote, "The Midrash says that the first human being was an androgynous, an intersex person, implying that all bodies and genders are created in God's image. Whether we are male, female, transgender, or something else, when we take steps physically and spiritually to more fully manifest our gender identities, we are fulfilling the commandment to partner with God in completing the work of creation. Throughout my life, I have passionately sought out a partnership with God in completing the work of creation, and it is not only a commandment, it is a joy. More fully manifesting my gender identity in all capacities is the most profound way I can honor the work of God. We are all, allies and LGBTQ folk alike, works of God's creation." Growing up in this synagogue, I, like many young people, cherished the NSCI Purim Carnival. I attended my first Purim Carnival, yes, of course, when I was 5.5 years old, and I marveled at the opportunity to experience it with my good friends. When we all arrived, every young girl was dressed as Esther or Vashti, except for myself. I instead opted to don a triangle-shaped black hat, a black t-shirt and jeans, a mustache, and very well-defined eyebrows. You'll figure it out. My mother had helped to craft my costume and proudly took pictures of me and my friends. This was 20 years ago with very little vocabulary around non-binary identity. And yet I believe my parents were utterly unconcerned with my choice to dress as a male character. I think their real concern was why I had chosen Haman over, say, like Mordecai. I too would love to know what was going on in small Hannah's mind around that. So growing up in NSCI classrooms, the pedagogy and teachers and clergy offered us, as young Jews, deeply honored and enacted the Jewish values. The clergy, the classrooms, the teachers enacted that value of loving the stranger. In the context of my class, I was the stranger. I wore boys' clothes and played on all-boys sports teams and spent most of my time with boys, and yet I did not want to be, nor did I feel as if I was a boy. I simply identified with aspects of their experience. And yet in my classroom, I was always made to believe that God and my classmates loved me and celebrated me, even if they didn't quite understand what they were celebrating. I looked forward to each day of Hebrew school here because it functioned as a reprieve from the lack of safety and visibility I experienced throughout the school day. I too relished the opportunity to thoroughly investigate Jewish values, to learn enough to be able to corroborate the fact that Judaism loved me, if ever it was questioned. In my experience, it was if our commitment to mitzvot transcended the transphobic social scripts that defined the school day community. My relationship to our people, to our text, and to our God kept me feeling safe and loved, and that was epitomized by the time I spent in Hebrew school and Sunday school here. I first encountered the Shema in my Sunday school classroom, and as soon as I had it memorized, I prayed it morning and night. It was preceded by prayers of gratitude for my family and for peace. I tried to only ask for one thing, and it was not that God change me, but that they, the world, understand me. As I continued to deliver this prayer, however, God oriented me toward the fact that someone did understand me, because God made me, and God understands all of his creations. One day, the world will understand, but in the meantime, I shared a special secret with God. I recall how deeply drawn I was to Yom Kippur, how from the youngest age, it was my favorite holiday. For an entire day, I just got to talk to God. I valued the opportunity to better myself, to make teshuvah, but what Yom Kippur confirmed for me each year is while I make mistakes, I am not a mistake. I knew that one day my truth would no longer be a secret, and this felt like a profound blessing. Being at Northwestern University has invited me into a community of non-binary Jews, a community I prayed for. I am no longer a secret. We're able to gather and discuss creation and purpose and self-love, and we just get to see each other. I am understood. I have attended workshops and affinity groups and citywide actions in solidarity with the LGBTQ community. I'm an educator who strives indefatigably to advocate for LGBT youth in the school system. Together, we are here to express the fullest iterations of ourselves. I hold fast to the concept that Jewish LGBTQ communities are not liberated until all LGBTQ communities are liberated. Every day, LGBTQ youth are kicked out of their homes, and I have a family that loves and cares for me. LGBTQ are disproportionately impacted by mental illness, and I have aspects and access to health care. I am a part of a religious tradition that sees me not as a transgression, but a blessing. We must fight not only for ourselves, but for the entirety of the LGBTQ community. Research LGBTQ history. The reason we have a pride parade, as Rabbi Green spoke to, is because of the work of Marsha P. Johnson in 1969, a trans Black female activist. Read LGBTQ authors, volunteer with LGBTQ organizations, show us that you know that we are here, that you see us in our joy and in our struggle. Often, I have the honor of worshiping from the Bema on Friday nights, and it is the quintessential manifestation of my physical and spiritual gender identity. I wear a men's suit, and I sing in a female key. This is a microcosm of my experience as a non-binary member of this congregation. We are here to share space and prayer with one another and express the fullest iterations of ourselves. I've studied queer texts with our clergy, and I've had the opportunity to educate fellow members because they are open-minded, open-hearted, and open-souled. I cannot name the number of times that when a congregant doesn't recognize a term I use, they go home and do research so that they can return to the conversation in more depth. That is the labor of love, of family, and of congregation. There is no community with which I would rather be on this Shabbat. Thank you for your allyship, for your labor, for your time, for seeing me and all of us. It has been an honor to share these words with you. Shabbat Shalom and